Hello everyone, my name is Rob Krug. I'm a senior security engineer for Dell SonicWall. I'm here with you today to talk about something very fun, or maybe scary depending on your perspective. I'm going to talk to you today about safeguarding your network from today's threat landscape that's taking place on the World Wide Web, sometimes referred to as the Wild Wild West. We're going to go through some of the scarier things that are taking place, some of the breaches you may have heard about, some of the ones you haven't heard about. We'll see some of the tactics that hackers use to manipulate your users or compromise your network security. From there, we'll jump into some relatively easy methods, easily deployed methods that you can use to safeguard your network and your users, your company's data, and most importantly, the bottom line. Let's jump into it right now. Some of the breaches that you've heard about in the past year may have been Heartbleed, would have been Poodle, Freak, Shell Shock, ransomware. These are just some of the things that go bump on the net on a regular basis. A lot of people see these in the headlines. Some of them even make mainstream media. Things like the Target breach, the Sony hack, Home Depot, the Office of Personnel Management for the federal government, IRS. These are just some of the breaches that have taken place that have shocked the world. But they don't really take effect. Most people don't take into account the ones that actually take place on a daily basis that are impacting the world, the net over. From that perspective, let's take a quick snapshot and see what's taking place. Looking at the attacks in motion, we can see some of the breaches that are taking place or some of the attempts that are taking place with certain internet tools. Certain websites post this information as they monitor it in their own servers, like this website, map.ipviking.com. They show you real time some of the attacks that they're able to detect and see in motion and put a nice little graphical display up. This represents less than 1% of the breaches that are taking place. It's actually kind of scary when you think about it. There are over 200,000 new threats on the web every single day of the week, and that's twice on Sunday. Talking about some of those, let's take a look into some of the breaches that have been popular this year. One of the ones you want to look at is the health records. It's really, really a huge number when you think about it. According to HHS Gov, the Health and Human Services of the United States federal government, and this year alone, just in 2015, there have been over 111 million personal medical records compromised. This means that almost 1 in 3 Americans have had their medical history files compromised or stolen on the web by hackers. This isn't loss from technology failures, hard drive failures, lost laptops. This is actually from security breaches. Why do hackers want to compromise medical records, right? A lot of people say, well, what's so worrisome about that? Think about it. All of your personal data is in your medical record. Your date of birth, your address, your mother's maiden name. It's how easily, all the easily provided information that a hacker needs to steal your identity. And why is that? Let's take a look. This particular image is from a black hat website. It's on the World Wide Web, where hackers are offering out your personal information. You can buy a low-level credit card for 10 bucks, a gold card for 20. But for $100, at least a couple of years ago, $100 would have bought your health insurance information. Think of that. A credit card is only worth 20, but your health information is worth 100. Why? Because that's how I steal your personal identity. Right? The next would be the corporate data, your corporate email. Stealing, accessing your email, compromising your email security so that I can send emails out to your customers, your clients, your business associates, and pretending to be you. This would help them fall for tricks that I'm going to show you in the next few slides. Let's talk about some of these breach scenarios that hackers actually use today. The first one I want to talk about is the phish. It's very old. It's been around for a long, long time. I mean, how many of you have won the African lottery? How many of you had a rich relative pass away that you never heard of who's left you a huge inheritance if you can just manage to get it out of a foreign government economy and have it wire transferred to a U.S. bank? It happens all the time. People actually do fall for these attacks, despite the fact that the huge jokes that follow in their footsteps. The next one that's a relative of the phish is the spearfish. It's a little bit more personal. It's how hackers are using your corporate email, your personal email, your social media information to compromise your friends, compromise you, and to fooling you into thinking that something else is going on. Meaning that you stumble upon a website. For example, our user John here, he goes and logs in and gets an email from his bank. It says, hey, John, we need you to confirm your personal identity. Please enter your username, your password, your PIN number, and hit accept to prove it's you. That wasn't from his bank. That was a hacker sending a spear phish attack specifically to John because he identified John as a member of that bank. It's very easy to do these days with the way that all the records are posted online. The next one I want to talk about is social engineering. This is the first method of any kind of any kind of a hack attack on any kind of network. Social engineering has been around since day one of the black hat hacker days. It's one that's been around. It's in the first chapter of every How to Be a Hacker handbook you'll ever buy or find online. That's the first chapter of how to be social engineering. It's a con. It's a con. It's manipulating you into thinking that something is going on or make you fall for the trick. Right? Click this link. Check out this news story. Hey, here it is. And you click a little link. The next thing you know, you're compromised. Taking into account one of the larger breaches that made the news last year, Ashley Madison. Ashley Madison got compromised and all the emails and usernames and passwords got breached on that site. Now, this wasn't a very huge danger, well, unless you count the 15,000 .mil and .gov email addresses. Those are military and government-related email accounts. Now, if I was to compromise and get my hands on those emails or that email address, I could then send out spear phish attacks to those users and say, hey, click me for if you're lonely tonight, and you click on the link, and the next thing you know, they're breached. It happens all the time. This is how incidents of OPM and IRS took place. It was because of personal webmail and a spear phish attack. The users never even realized that they were clicking on malware. The next breach scenario is the spyware. It's very self-explanatory. Everyone's heard of spyware. They steal your data, they steal your identity, they find out what you like, they marketing data, it could be adware, all kinds of things. They track your preferences, and then they know how to direct marketing or malicious content direct to you. This is basically, or compromising your network. Spyware infesting your network and scanning for files like passwords, credit card information, finance data, and then sending that data out to a website for a hacker to collect later. Happens all the time. Most of the networks that are infected by spyware fail to miss one simple thing: scanning outbound traffic. Spyware's on the network sending traffic out. Are you scanning your outbound traffic? The next breach I want to talk about is the waterhole breach. This is just a fancy play on words to describe something that happens in the animal kingdom. Much like the predator that stakes out the water hole and waits for the prey, that would be you. From going down to get a sip of water, the next thing you know, bam, croc takes you under. Happens the same way on the internet. You go to a legitimate website that's been compromised. You may not realize it's been compromised, and all of a sudden the code that's built into that website executes locally on your hard drive. Next thing you know, you're infected with ransomware, a Trojan, a botnet, and hackers have taken control of your network. And before you say that, oh, I don't go to bad websites, famous last words, by the way, realize that when you go to a website, you're not just loading content from one source. Take into account a site like msnbc.com. When you go to that website and it loads up, you think you're just at one URL, www.msnbc.com. What you don't see in the background is the content that's being pulled, like ads or clicks that are the click.nets, the ad.nets, things like that. The little ads at the bottom that show up on MSNBC.com or Fox News or CNN. All those little stories, all those little graphics load from other websites. Now those websites may be obviously legitimate and or obnoxious, but what happens if they've been compromised? So you click on one of those links on the side or you load the page, and before you know it, your browser is not touching the one website, it's actually talking to hundreds. You can see this with various web utilities like Lightbeam and others, where you can actually see in your browser all the different sites you're going to. Are you looking at all those sites today? Are you now confident that you don't go to bad websites? Consider it. The next breach that I would like to talk to you about today is the litigation. Now this one is basically a precautionary breach that you want to protect your business from the bottom line, being infected by lawsuits and things of that nature. From that standpoint, I want you to take into account a little thing called content filtering. It's important. Don't laugh. All right. So with that said, answer this question for me. How many of you would rather show your friends and family your entire internet search history or live near an active volcano? An online poll was pretty clear. 61% would rather live near an active volcano than show their friends and family their search history. Why is that? They were obviously doing things that were up to no good or things they weren't proud of. Now, as they're surfing those sites, Who else is aware of it? Take into account this nice little scenario. Someone's doing something on a computer they're not supposed to. For example, a live news broadcast from a couple years ago, but it's still relevant today. Gentleman in the back here, he's actually doing something he's probably not supposed to while the anchor is talking about interest rates on the main screen. All of a sudden, everyone realizes what's being shown in the back screen, and people get offended. People are afraid. His boss says, "Oh, what are you doing?" But it's too late. He's caught. He's busted on primetime TV. Right? Hopefully he wasn't at ashleymadison.com. Now, as he was surfing through that, he got caught. Someone gets offended. Next thing you know, in come the attorneys. Here's where your bottom line gets affected. For all of those that are in K through 12 schools or dealing with anything like SIPA, that's the Child Internet Protection Act, take into account something like this. This is something that you definitely don't want happening in your network. A live broadcast or a presentation, much like I'm delivering to you today. And up, instead of these nice, wonderful slides, up comes a porn site that shows some hardcore porn to a young audience. That can get you in a lot of trouble, maybe even some jail time. Certainly going to ruin your reputation, certainly may lead to some lawsuits, and that will impact the bottom line. So content filtering, absolutely a must. Now let's talk about another little breach that you want to be aware of today, is the compromising of your credentials. Keeping your username, your password secure. For example, if you look here, Taylor Swift has a nice little saying. This is from years ago. This is 2011 at the DEF CON convention. She literally said, "Why compromise networks when you can compromise the people that run them? Networks are hard, people are soft." That's the social engineering attack. That's where they're going after your users. They're going after your soft targets. They're compromising those usernames and passwords. Where they show, as of last year, the most common password on the internet was Mustang. You can actually see this information on the World Wide Web, on various news sources. And this is the information that hackers take advantage of. If you want to see how easy it is, go to, or how secure your password is, you're welcome to go to this little website right here, www.netreaperlab.com/password. It'll actually show you how easy it is to compromise a password once you type it in. It's pretty cool. It's a good way to measure your security. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is some of the soft targets that Taylor Swift was talking about. This will be some fun. So first up, the last thing you want on your user network is this little handy dandy book. Walk around your office and see if any of your employees have this on their desk. It's the Internet Address Password Logbook. Certainly something that you'd want to look for. The other thing is your social media posts, where you have a credit card number posted on Facebook, where a mother was so proud of her son, she posted a picture of his card. If you'll see here, the very next post was, "Thank you for my first car and everything on eBay." So basically, you want to be aware of what your users are posting. Are they taking screenshots of confidential data in the office and posting it on social media? Another one, we've all seen it, the sticky note with the username and password on the laptop. Something you want to look out for, right? Everyone's seen that one. Of course, criminals do dumb things too on the internet, as we've recently seen. Love to post their victories and everything else. Next thing you know, they're twittering with the cops and saying, "No, you can't catch me," and the cops use it to find where they're at. They're not the brightest bunch, right? And of course, the Twitter exploit right here, another attempt of social engineering. You'll see here, is your password secure? Enter your username and password to find out. Maybe even look like the Twitter website. That's a spearfish attack. They send it to the Twitter users that they find online. They send it to them and say, "Hey, is this your username and password?" And confirm it and see how secure it is. You need to confirm your identity. They fall for it all the time. And of course, this nice little ad I found on the bottom of an iPad where it said, "Has your credit card number been stolen on the internet? Enter the number and the expiration date to check it now." That seems legit. Now you know why the credit cards are only $10 on the hacker websites. And of course, news anchors, the news anchor exploit, where the gentleman held up, the news anchor actually held up a Bitcoin, flashed it to the camera, much like I'm standing in front of now, and a hacker took a screenshot with his phone on his HD TV and walked away with the gentleman's Bitcoin. It happens that quick. You want to be aware of the new technology and how it can impact your business. And of course, if you have any questions on how to, other scams, you're welcome to send me a check for $499. I'll be more than happy to tell you how the rest of the scams happen. Of course, truth is always stranger than fiction. You'll see this in major motion picture movies from Hollywood and on TV shows like the movie Black Hat, where the hacker plugs in a thumb drive and compromises the bank. Or you see on NCIS where the military contractor has been exploited by malware embedded in a PDF, or where you do a simple search and can see where everybody's credit history or all their registration information all in a simple keyword search on a government terminal. Is it that hard, or is it that easy? And of course, movies like Mission Impossible, where you can actually see where they jump through walls and buildings and plug in a thumb drive and compromise the security of any enterprise. It's actually that easy. So let's take a look at that. How many of you like to go to coffee houses or sandwich shops, jump online, get some work done during lunch? I'm sure you do. I do all the time. So how many of you have actually walked around and actually taken a look at what's going on in those particular coffee houses? You always see people in there busy, they're working on their iPads, their laptops, their other mobile devices, and they're surfing the net, they're doing things, they could be paying their mortgage. Do you actually take a look and see who's in there? Do you know what they're doing? Are they just being harmless internet users? Or is this guy sitting in the room having an espresso and hacking your PC while you're sitting there drinking your coffee? It's actually a lot easier than you think. This is actually me sitting with a laptop. I'm actually running some scans in a coffee house at a Starbucks. And I'm actually running a scan. I can see the other users on the network. I can see what they're doing. And yes, I actually wore a hacker t-shirt. I am a certified ethical hacker after all. I wouldn't want someone to think I was being unethical. From there, I was actually running different applications. I was able to see everything that was going on in the network, where people were going, what websites they were viewing, were they paying their mortgage, were they on Facebook. I could see that information. I could take this a step further and run a device much like this one. It's a Wi-Fi Pineapple. This kind of device allows me to play man in the middle on your wireless traffic. I can pretend to be an access point that you trust. You connect to it. You think you're surfing the net through a harmless internet connection. What you're actually doing is surfing through the hacker's laptop or their computer system, and everything you see, everything you type, browse to, enter, email, is all visible by the hacker. They can see it with a device like this. You can buy one online for about $100. Here's how it works. I set up the access point to mirror a different connection, much like a hotel wireless, for example. And how many of you take it aware? Do you go into the hotel, you get on the wireless, you think it's secure, you think it's trusted. But is the guy in the next room got a Wi-Fi Pineapple and scanning everything that you're doing? Are you actually connected to that hotel Wi-Fi, or are you connected to the hacker? Some people travel a little heavy with their technology. For example, this is actually my hotel room. You can see here I have multiple firewalls, laptops, and a Wi-Fi Pineapple set up, and I can see everything that's going on. I can actually detect that information and decipher who's going to what websites. It's actually a little fun sometimes. Curiosity kills. This one's something you want to take advantage of. How many of you actually have a security policy for your company in regards to thumb drives? We saw this in some of the Hollywood clips that came out last year in some of the movies, where they plug in a thumb drive and it compromises a network. All they have to do is plug in that USB key. How easy is that one? Well, in the purpose of doing a demonstration, I went out and bought 30 thumb drives. And I took those thumb drives and I loaded up some interesting files on them. Files that said wife pics, XXX pics, credit and finance, checking access. I set these files up on the thumb drive and then I simply dropped the thumb drive. I'll show you that in a second. What happens when someone clicks on one of these links, it actually takes them to a nice little website and says, hey, you should know better. You shouldn't do things like this. You could have been hacked. By the way, you may want to run anti-malware right now. Since this thumb drive was left out in the open, I don't know what else has been put on it. So again, an ethical hacker, I was being nice, trying to educate, show them what happens when they click on it, right? So where did I leave these thumb drives? Up on the restroom counter, next to the napkin dispenser at a restaurant or a coffee house, on the on the picnic table out front, or on the actual table as I got up when I left my laptop there, got in the bag, left in the car, left the thumb drive on the table. People found it, dropped them in airports, dropped them in an elevator in a business park. It's really that simple. Now, when people pick these thumb drives up and then they go and connect it, I can actually see that they connected to websites. So I dropped 30 thumb drives, and you'll see here I had 67 hits. Think about that. 30 thumb drives, 67 hits. That means they didn't just go to one file, they went to more than one. Or they dropped it and someone else picked it up. I could have infected 67 different networks or systems. And by looking at this next little map, I can see exactly where the users were. Now, I'm based down here in Florida, so I was able to see, obviously, that most of the hits were down here, but you can see other hits like Nevada, you can see Maine, you can see South Carolina, you can see Delaware. Those could all be different networks that were compromised by a simple thumb drive. Is your network secure? Are you checking thumb drives when they connect to your network? Food for thought. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the Darknet, the onion network, or the Darknets as they're called. Some people say, oh, that's just Hollywood, or that's the news media spinning tales. No, actually, it's just that bad. It's actually a lot worse than a lot of them let on. The Darknets exist in a different kind of web sphere, if you will, where users, unless you know how to get there, you're not going to get there. You're not going to stumble across it in Google, for example. You use different applications to connect to this Darknet. And once you're on the Darknet, you can find anything. Simple search engine inside this network will allow me to find any kind of resource, illegal or otherwise, that I want. Things like passports. If I want to become a resident of a different country, it's relatively easy. I can generate a fake passport and have it delivered to me at any time. Or look for stolen credit card numbers. Right? Here's actual credit card numbers displayed here with all the information you need. You can buy them in bulk. Again, remember, $10 for a low-level credit card, $20 for a gold. Drugs, not a problem. Any candy store you want, they've got it online. And of course, other things that get really dark, like contract killers, also online. They actually have rules, though. I found this one was really interesting. They said no child under the age of 16 and no top 10 politician. All for the price of 16 bitcoins. Not a whole lot. So let's talk about securing your network with Dell SonicWall. All the breaches that I've showed you today are preventable. They're ways to control. You're able to safeguard against them. Things like email security, setting up, inspecting your corporate email so that you block things like the spearfish and the fish attacks and the ransomware and the malware embedded inside the emails or attachments. Scanning inside that. Data inspection, data protection, where sending out your company data is going out, making sure that emails are being inspected for the content that's going out, protecting your company's confidential proprietary data. Right? Another way, remote access. We're all road warriors in this modern internet era. We all travel. We all have laptops, tablets, phones. We're always connected, always. And we're always sometimes tied back to work, getting something done. Are you securely connecting those connections, securely monitoring those connections? Are you protecting those connections coming back into your network? Are you just using a simple VPN connection? Or are you using things like two-factor authentication? Are you doing inspection of the connection once they're in the network? Are you allowing the files just to be uploaded and downloaded at will? Or are you applying rules that certain users have certain access? Firewalls. The Dell SonicWall firewall. It is completely a game changer when you talk about the ways and controls that you can apply in a network. Not only are we blocking the malware and the exploits like the ransomware, the CryptoLocker, the shell shock, the Heartbleed, those exploits, not only are we preventing those, but you can apply rules around personal applications like social media. Are you allowed to play games in Facebook? Are you going to block personal webmail like Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo Mail? Or do you allow them to go to those webmail services, but you block attachments? Another really good way to safeguard a network. Also inspecting applications that are already on the network like VPN or SSH or DNS or email, making sure they're going to their appropriate destinations and that the appropriate users have access. All of these are controls that you can apply in the firewall. Safeguarding a network is very easy these days. It requires a different modification of approach. The first thing you have to do is come up with a security policy for your company. There's several different ways to go about this, several online resources. There's certainly the partner community here at Dell SonicWall where you can take advantage and have someone come in and help craft this policy for you. More importantly, network architecture like here, where you can take the firewall and rather than set it up to where it was on the internet gateway, moving it back into the network and scanning your internal traffic to ensure that you're inspecting everything and controlling applications as they come and go from remote users, mobile devices, USB thumb drives, servers, emails coming in, making sure all that information is scanned, inspected, reported, and protected. Using the Dell security umbrella of products, you really can safeguard your network from A to Z. There's every level in between, including obviously the internet level with Dell SecureWorks. You can have a monitored monthly service where they can monitor your network, protect against exploits that are coming in, report on that. You have this network security with Dell SonicWall. That's the email security. That's the Wi-Fi, the remote access, and the next generation firewall. Identity and access management, where you can actually do credentials. That's another level, where you can actually manage all the different systems, or apply two-factor authentication, or patch management for all your systems by using Dell Case. Or Dell Endpoint Protection, where you're actually applying antivirus and policy and data protection rules at the laptop level, so that when data goes from your corporate network to the laptop and the laptop leaves the building, you can rest easy that data is secured. All of those solutions are available to you today through Dell Security. And what are the odds? This one is something that's more of a security inside awareness that I want you to be aware of. And nice little number here I'm going to throw up on the board, 98%. 98%, this number is really telling. 98% is what NSS Labs currently ranked the Dell SonicWall firewall protection at, meaning that we blocked 98% of all known threats out there. We were able to safeguard that network at 98%. That's a huge number. That really, really is a huge number. However, there's something that you want to take into account. That's 60%. I am 98% effective on 60% of your network. Why is that? The rest of your network on today's internet is encrypted. It's HTTPS. Now you can call this the Snowden effect. You can call this the NSA breach. You can call this many different levels that have happened over the past few years that have done this. But you may have noticed all the websites you're going to now are HTTPS. That's an encrypted connection from your browser all the way back to the server that you're going to, whether it be a Gmail, a Google search, a Bing search, a Yahoo.com search, or you're going to pay your mortgage, or you're going to Facebook, or going to YouTube. All that information is encrypted today. How do you inspect it? That's basically a VPN, so you have to play man in the middle. The Dell SonicWalls have a service in it that's called DPI SSL that allows us to provide deep packet inspection of SSL traffic without any latency. We can do it real time on the fly. We certainly have the solutions for any size network. And once we apply this, now we're at 98 over 100, and that's the score to beat. Let me show you how this actually works. Take a look at your network today. Look at the level of encrypted traffic. Go in and pull information from your data usage and see how many connections of SSL traffic, Facebook, webmail, web searches, all this content, email, all this Outlook connections, instant message applications, Skype, all this is encrypted. How much of that traffic is on your network today? That's traffic that you're likely not inspecting at all today, right? So you want to be able to take a look at it. Take into account, for example, an end user. They log into Gmail. They're down some downtime. They're on the corporate network. They access their email and they see a PDF file from a friend of theirs that contains a bunch of jokes or some other material. They open the PDF because they trusted the source. What they weren't counting for was CryptoLocker embedded in that, and all of a sudden now they're infected with malware, and next thing you know, CryptoLocker is running rampant in your network or other form of ransomware. It really is that easy to compromise a network with a virus like ransomware. Right? Now, let's apply the Dell SonicWall approach to that. We take the firewall and we inspect all the user traffic so that when they go out to the webmail site, they're actually being inspected. And when they download that attachment, we actually block the malware on the fly without the user ever even realizing that they were inspected and protected. Right? Let's see it in action. Nice little video here to show you how exactly the malware exploit runs on the network. User goes in, they try to download it from their own personal Dropbox, and as you can see, we instantly block that malware from being downloaded. And we tell the user, Gateway Antivirus on the Dell SonicWall protected you from downloading this ransomware CryptoLocker package from Dropbox.com. It's that easy. In closing, remember to always leverage a true security solution. Like, for example, don't be led into a false sense of security like this raccoon here when he ran out on top of the back of an alligator. Probably not the wisest move. We all know end users will do fun things on your network, like installing additional toolbars because they're known to help speed up the PC. Or, for example, installing a true security solution. Or installing the security solution in the best possible placement. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be watching a segment of the network that was unimportant. Don't ever be talked into installing a security system to watch your security system. Never works out too well. In the end, you don't want to have MacGyver come in and do a facepalm because he can't figure something out. After all, nothing's impossible until MacGyver does the facepalm. And of course, with the Dell SonicWall solution, we want you to know that you get true security, much like this. You get true security and nothing is getting through. We're going to protect that network, we're going to inspect it, we're going to provide that protection for you. And that would be Chuck Norris approved. Thank you very much for your time today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you learned something from this presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your Dell SonicWall account team. I'd be more than happy to help you further. Thank you very much.